One of the individuals that has had the most impact on my life is a Shaheed, Malcolm X, rahmatullahi alayh. I remember reading his autobiography when I was in high school, and I was just mesmerized as to what he went through in life and the narrative that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him through. His story is a story of spiritual and intellectual transformation, and we see that all throughout his existence until he blossoms into this amazing individual that he eventually becomes. From being a young boy in which his father is killed by the Klan, to his mother then being hospitalized due to mental health issues, and then him moving from home to home in foster care, being caught up in criminal activities, going to jail. His whole story is just unbelievable. And then in jail, he finds the Nation of Islam, and that is the beginning of his transformational story. He comes out and he becomes one of the greatest advocates against racism in America. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this man a sense of eloquence that is rarely ever matched, and an intellect that was so piercing. But even then, with the Nation of Islam, he goes through the challenges that he does, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings him to the truth. He brings him to the true religion of Islam when he goes on the Hajj. And on the Hajj, he has an amazing awakening. And here are his words himself.
The American Negro can never be blamed for his racial animosities. He's only reacting to 400 years of oppression and discrimination. But as racism leads America up the suicidal path, I do believe that the younger generation will see the handwriting on the wall, and many of them will want to turn to the spiritual path of the truth. The only way left in this world to ward off the disaster that racism must surely lead to.
So Malcolm here, rahmatullahi alayhi, is teaching us that the path to rid ourselves in the world of racism is actually rooted in a spiritual solution. It's rooted in the tools that Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi taught us in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. They are victorious. They've attained felicity, the ones that have spiritually purified themselves, cleaned up the junk that's inside them. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi tells us that verily in the body, is a piece of flesh. If that piece of flesh is upright, then the whole system, the whole body is upright. And if that piece of flesh is spoiled, then the whole system is spoiled. Verily, it's the heart. That if we have a sound heart, then we have a sound mind, and then we have sound interaction with the world. But if we have an unsound heart, then we have an unsound thinking process, and then we have unsound interactions with the world. So if I want to remove greed, if I want to remove arrogance, if I want to remove racism from myself and from my interactions, then I have to clean up what's inside. And that's what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi came to do. And that's what the spiritual saintly scholars have taught us. There's a whole path as to how we rid ourselves from all of that gunk that's on our hearts, that's causing us to get angry really fast, to be greedy, to be racist, to covet other things that we shouldn't covet. Great scholars like Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, rahmatullahi alayhi, and his Ihya Ulumuddin, he's taught us how to interact with ourselves and how to purify ourselves to attain this. The likes of Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, rahmatullahi alayh, and the list goes on and on. We need to go through a spiritual transformation process. Just like Malcolm X went through a spiritual and an intellectual transformation process. Because once we do so, we become beautiful human beings that can actually be part of the solutions to the problems of the world. But if we don't do that, then we ourselves will continue to be a problem. Malcolm X has taught us so much. His whole life was a life of spiritual and intellectual transformation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him, Ya Rabbi Ya Kareem, and may Allah enter him into the highest levels of paradise.